child, is your child 5 or 7 or even 10 or more years old, but they've not spoken their first word yet and they are not using words to communicate? If yes, then watch this video because today I'm going to talk to you about nonverbal autism, or more appropriately called non-speaking autism, what it is, why does it happen, and what can you do about it to help your child.
So if your child is not yet speaking, this video will help you learn why they are not speaking and what you can do for your autistic child who's not yet speaking meaningful words. Okay, so this channel is all about speech therapy, home activities, tips, techniques, and tutorials on how you can teach your child at home. So if this is something you like, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get all the new information that I post weekly. Okay, so let's start by defining who is a nonverbal child. So when do we say a child is nonverbal is when they don't have any true words. Maybe you note that your child is saying some sounds. Sometimes you even hear an occasional word that your child says. Maybe they have 1 to 2 words. So when do we say a child is nonverbal? Do all of these children come under nonverbal? So let's see. For that, I want us to first look at what constitutes a true word. So a true word is one word which is used first meaningfully. For example, when your child looks at the remote, they always say mo, mo, mote. So you know that mote always means remote. So in this case, that has a meaning. The word has a meaning and it is used consistently. Whenever your child wants to see TV or whenever they see the remote, they say mote. So that word can be called a true word. And also it is a word that you don't ask a lot of repetition for, like say this, and then your child says that. You don't do this, but they say it on their own. This is a true word. Sometimes you may be wondering, but he did not say remote, but he say only mote. Is this still a true word? Yes, it is. If it has meaning and if it is used consistently, it is a true word. Or even though it does not have the complete syllables and all the sounds in that word, it can still be considered a true word. So, for example, some children say me for milk, or they say yay every time they do something. So, all these are also considered true words. Even if your child is a nonverbal communicator and they're using pictures or a device to communicate, the words on the device, the pictures on the device are also considered true words. Sometimes we notice that our child picks up words from YouTube videos of other languages. Those are also considered true words if the word is used consistently and meaningfully. For example, a lot of times I see children say a word very rarely, or only after you ask them to say it again and again, and then finally after like the 10th or 15th time they say it. This may not be considered a true word. So we say a child is non-verbal when they have no words at all. Like we looked at the previous slide, if your child does have some words, some meaningful words used consistently, like mama or give or ta or e, that they use specifically for a specific object or a function, then those are considered true words. But if your child does not have any such word, only then are they considered non-verbal. So I see a lot of parents who tell that their child speaks a few words, but still they are non-verbal. So, no, we don't consider children who do speak some words as nonverbal. Only when your child does not have any true words can we say they are nonverbal. Also, I want to let you know that I have started a small Instagram page. It's called Speech Therapy with Priyanka. So, if you are on Instagram, do go follow me where I post a lot of short form videos and informative content for parents. So I was just now talking to you about this true word concept. So now that you watched this video so far, let me know in the comments, does your child have some true words or if they don't? A true word, remember, is something that is meaningful and that is used consistently and that you don't have to keep on asking for. So if your child does have some true words, let me know in the comments below. So this video is focused for parents whose children do not speak true words at all or maybe have an occasional 1 or 2 words. This video is for them. The second topic is most of the time I see that a lot of people, whether parents of autistic children or therapists or lay people, so when a child does not speak, we naturally assume that the child is less intelligent or they don't know much. But the thing is, this is not the case, and I will tell you why later in this video. And also, a lot of us assume that just because a child cannot speak, they are also very aggressive and they are very aggressive towards people. But the truth is, regardless a child is autistic or not, some people just are aggressive and it is there in their character. So, a non-verbal child does not equal to an aggressive child. And also, there is this concept that just because they cannot speak, they also don't understand language. This may not be true. You see that a lot of nonverbal autistic children pick up on language, body gestures, body language, and social cues very sharply and react to these cues also. So, if we are not supposed to consider our children like this, then what are we supposed to think like? First, we have to change the idea of non-verbal and think non-speaking, because when we say non-verbal, all the other things also come inside it. Like they are less intelligent, they're more aggressive, they don't understand anything. That is a very stigmatic concept. So let's just start saying that the child is not speaking. And I also wanted told you that I'm going to tell you about IQ. So yes, sometimes it may seem like a child may not be understanding, but the fact is that the word IQ or the concept of an intelligent quotient is very outdated, because nowadays we research is showing us that there are different types of intelligence, that there is no one number to denote a person's entire mind, and that is not a good representative number of the child's abilities. For example, there are certain tests. The most easiest psychological tests use verbal language as the output to measure the consistency or the value of the child, which does not apply to non-speaking children, because they also have good IQ, which will be tested only when you do non-verbal intelligence assessments. And now there is a concept of specific intelligence, where a child or a person may not be intelligent in everything. For example, even you or me, maybe we are not good at bargaining, or maybe we are not good at driving or finding the location in certain places. So we cannot say less intelligent just because a child does not do one thing. And also, we find that a lot of autistic children have specific intelligence where they are highly skilled or highly knowledgeable in one type of information or content. And in children, what I see most is like animals or painting or reading. They're very smart in that, or they're very smart at maths. So there is specific intelligence, and that is a good way to think rather than just thinking IQ or high intelligence, low intelligence. And also, what happens is when a child is non speaking, they use non-verbal communication, body language to communicate. So, like, for example, you might have noticed this yourself. Like when you talk to someone, if you constantly look at their eyes and talk, it feels like you're connecting to them. You are very deeply bonded with them. It's so intense. And if you give an eye contact to a stranger for a long time, and you just talk to them, it feels awkward, because eye contact feels too intimate to keep giving it to people a lot. So a lot of times, if you notice yourself, you don't talk to strangers by only looking at their eyes for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. We do talk by looking at the eyes, but it's very transient. So like non-verbal communication can seem very strong. So that is why sometimes it can see that our children are very strong communicators with their body language, that may look like they're aggressive, but they may not be aggressive. And it's also shown that children are very good at picking up body language. They're good at picking up our facial cues. Even though they may not understand the individual words, they do understand the context, the emotion, and what is happening at least 50%. So language understanding is there, and sometimes it's even very good up to 100%. So just because we don't have a way to check if the child is understanding does not mean they're not understanding. Okay, now that we've properly got an idea of who is a non-speaking child, now the next question is, why is this happening to my child? Why is my child non-verbal? Okay, and I'm going to give you the very honest answer right now. And the honest answer is Wait, before I tell you that, if you watched this video so far and you like this video, do consider clicking on that like button below this video. It will help me out a lot. Okay, so now back to the topic. So the answer is that research is still trying to find it out, and not we don't know for sure why some children don't speak. But we do have some explanation in this concept or in this diagnosis of childhood apraxia of speech, or in general, apraxia of speech. So, praxis, the word praxis means movement, and apraxia means difficulty with movement. So, it's especially when this is present for speaking, it is called childhood apraxia of speech in children. Now, there is a difficulty in making the movements for speech. Now, what is apraxia of speech, and does my child have this? This is a very good question, and let's make a separate video for that where we go in depth on apraxia. But right now, I will give you some information. That is, apraxia is not very common. It is very rare to occur, and it is one of the explanations why a child with autism may not be speaking, because they have a high degree of apraxia. And apraxia is also seen in some autistic children who speak, and you will also notice that the child's speech sometimes less clear. So that child could have a mild degree of apraxia where they do have speech, but the speech is less clear and only a few people understand the child's speech. And if this apraxia is at a higher degree, you will notice that your child is not able to make any speech sounds and they're not able to make the words. This is because there is nothing wrong, especially with the structures of the child's brain or mouth, but in how they function. That is, when you speak or when you do any motor action, your brain tells your body or your specific oral structures for speech on how to speak. That is, a motor plan is created. For example, if I'm going to tell the word cat, there are three sounds, k, a, t. So there is a motor plan for the word cat, which has three sounds in sequence happening simultaneously. For example, for k, the motor plan is to tell for my brain to tell my jaw to move down and to tell my tongue to move back to produce the k sound. Similarly, for a sound and a t sound, and this happens very fast in the brain and very sequentially and very synchronized manner. But due to some difficulties or some other reasons, the child's brain is not able to give this instruction to the oral structures. And this is why some children have a higher degree of apraxia of speech or childhood apraxia of speech. Some children can still have this difficulty, but to a milder degree. Okay, now what are the symptoms of apraxia of speech? How do I know if my child has apraxia of speech? One of the reasons I told you is that one of the symptoms is that you will not be able to get any speech out of your child if they have a higher degree. And if they have a milder degree, sometimes you can get your child to say some words, but these words can be distorted, or your child may not say the word in the correct tone and manner that you say. For example, if you say butterfly, you might see that your child saying butterfly. So they break the word, that is, they split the word. They may do like fly. So where they add an sound at every syllable, and you will also see that your child is trying a lot, wherein but they're still not getting the sounds correctly. And these are some of the symptoms. Now, if you do suspect that your child has apraxia of speech, the best thing is to go to a speech therapist who does have knowledge and experience in treating a child with apraxia of speech, so that you can help your child better. Okay, so now let's get on to the topic of, okay, regardless of whatever the reason, your child is still not speaking. Now, how can you help your child? Like, what can you do about this? And how can you help your child in day-to-day communication and in learning? Okay, so the first thing you can do is to work on language understanding with your child. Most often, we are very focused on the oral aspect or making our children say that one word or two words or that one sound, that we spend so much time in it and we forget to teach other important things for the child. So let's start with teaching language understanding concepts. And when we think understanding, we I want you to think not just about objects and nouns, but also other parts of speech. Like a lot of us start with simple things like birds and animals and fruits. And this is great, okay to start, but I would say teach your child words that are relevant to day communication rather than academic concepts like alphabets or numbers or bird names or animal names, which they can learn later in life in school anyway. But teach them more vocabulary related to everyday life, like the objects around the house, or the feelings of people, the emotions of people, or the different type names of foods that your child likes and that options are available for them, different action concepts, and also concepts like hot and cold and tall and short. It's windy, it's rainy, the seasons, the days of the week, which are things that their child will use on a day-to-day basis rather than this letters, alphabet, numbers, and all that. So you can teach your child understanding of these concepts by using pictures and recognizing the picture and the text. The second thing that you can use is to teach your child some basic gestures for communication. Yes, your child is not able to speak, but they can still communicate and tell you what they want in day to day life, what they like, and what they are in need of if they know some basic gestures. So, you can refer this video of mine where I have talked about all the basic 10 gestures and I have done it for you also. And this is also a simple list of the basic gestures for children that they can use to communicate their daily needs. Apart from this, I also want you to think about making a picture based board of your child's favorite things, for example, their favorite foods to eat. So, collect pictures of your child's favorite food, laminate it or put it in a file, and keep it for your child to use in everyday life to ask for what they want. And even when you cook, you can ask what you want, or if, after you go out to the market and come back, you can talk about all the vegetables that you bought, and this is an example of using a same similar type of board or a communication board. So we are talking about creating your child's favorite vocabulary board. So this is for food, one for going out, like what do you do when you are going to the park every day? You want to play, you want to take a break, you want to do slide, you want to do swing. So you can create a specific picture board for that and use it there. And also, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to consider alternative expressions. That is, speaking is something that comes naturally to a lot of people. But so we think speaking is very easy and we take it for granted. But the thing is, speaking is a very complex fine motor task that is performed by the brain. And rather than moving your body for walking or climbing, the brain actually needs more area for activation and processes happen to speak, because any fine motor task that involves moving small muscle groups does require a lot more effort than moving whole body or big muscle groups. So it is a bit of a difficult task if you think about speech. And speech was not one of the basic human functions that the early man had. We did not have speech where speeches were not one of the primary human functions. There are primary human functions like breathing, excreting, walking, which is needed to survive. But speech was not one such function, which human beings adapted and evolved into speaking only when we started creating tools. So you have to understand that it is not one of the basic functions and it does not come easily to everybody. So sometimes some children are not able to speak, and instead of forcing the child to speak and making them do all these mouth exercises to speak, let's try to consider alternate types of expression that is there for children. So these are some things you can start simple. For example, this one is called a switch, talking switch, where you press a button and then it says the word. So you can start very simple like this for your child's basic needs, or you can start simple pictures like this, like I want to sleep, I want to go to the toilet, I need help, pictures for this. Or you can also look at signs, and this is a text-based communication system where your child can type what they want to say. So that is what I wanted to talk to you about, alternative expressions apart from speech. So we've been discussing signs, we gestures, picture-based systems, text-based system, uh, computer-based systems, devices specifically for speaking. So there are a lot of these options called alternative and augmentative communicative options. So definitely go through that, talk to your SLP, see what assistive technology is available for your child, and get into it. So this is another example of a communication board, which are these pictures are very simple. You can make it at home. Okay, so this is a communication board that we have. This is also another simple type of communication book where you have pictures inserted into photo albums slots. So I'm just going to recap the different types of AAC or augmentative and alternative communication options that we just saw, which is signs and gestures using simple picture-based communication at home. And once your child has a few pictures, you can even move on to big picture boards having many meaningful pictures like this one that we just saw. And then you can also have assistive technology like the switch that we saw, where you can press a switch to get a sound. There are different types of assistive technology for communication. If you just search, you will get a lot of information. And you also have specific computer apps and tablet or iPad apps for this, like this verbally and other. You have so many free options also that you can start with and trial with your child. And once your child is doing well, you can even try other paid programs also to give your child one consistent means of communication. But for all this, I know it is very new because as a lay person, we only know speech and we only think speech is the communicative method. But the thing is, there are certain children and people who cannot speak, and for them, we do need to give some type of communication option because, like we just saw, speech is the only thing that's difficult, whereas the child is able to do so many other things. So let's give the child more opportunity and more options to communicate rather than focusing on speech. Okay, and finally, let's talk about this one topic, which is imitation of motor actions, which I see a lot of therapists are recommending on YouTube. There's so many oromotor exercises for speaking and all this. But you have to understand that when you think about exercise for speaking, exercise is something you do to train a muscle. So, but and for purpose of endurance or performance, like for example, heavy lifting or running or preparing for a marathon and all that. But speech is not actually a motor task that needs strength. So if you're doing an exercise to improve your oral tongue strength or lip strength or jaw strength, you have to note that that doesn't really help speech because you don't need strong muscles to speak. You just need muscles to coordinate, to be sequenced in the correct positions, and to speak accurately. So for that, you have to work on specific speech sounds. So if you are doing exercises with all these fancy straws and blowing equipment, hoping that your child will speak, I'm very sorry to tell you, but there is no research that supports that working on vegetative or oromotor skills like blowing, sucking, and swallowing and chewing will help in speech because they are both, like we were talking, separate. They need separate motor plans and they need separate brain pathways to be activated for that function. And speech is a very social act. So just doing these exercises may not, like most of the time, it does not help speech. I believe it does not help speech. Let's say that it doesn't help. So instead of focusing your time on doing this fine motor activities or oral imitation activities, I would suggest you work on communication, work on the previous topics that we discussed about AAC, getting a child to communicate, talk about their feelings and thoughts, rather than just focusing on few sounds. Like I see a lot of therapists do like do ah, do e, do oo, how which is very difficult for a child who's non-speaking. Just think about it. If your child is 7 years old or 8 years old and they're not yet speaking, and you're now only teaching them to speak ah and ba and ah, e, oo, when are you going to teach them to speak words and how long is it going to take? So instead of spending that time on somehow getting the words, let's focus that precious time on teaching your child to communicate, helping your child with reading and writing so that they may even begin to use text-based communication later on to express their thoughts and become writers or talk about themselves. So there are so many options to explore.
Let me recap the main points of this video. Some autistic children are not able to produce true, meaningful spoken words. and this is a concern for parents, and it is a big issue because we need to help them communicate. And this, instead of focusing on why or working on just one sound or two sounds for 6 months or 8 months, the point of this video is to get you to open your mind to see what are the different communication options available for your child, and to start exploring them one by one and giving your child an easy fluid type of communication system, that is either a picture, a gesture, written communication, picture based communication, or any type of assistive technology. And I'm going to be very honest with you and tell you that many SLPs lack the knowledge on how to teach a child with AAC, how to use a communication board, how to use a core board, or any software in teaching a child. But there are SLPs out there who know how to do it. So don't stop just because you are not able to find one or two SLPs. Keep searching and looking for your child and find somebody to help you on your journey to get your child to communicate using assistive technology. Okay, so this was a really long video. If you stuck till the end and you watched the whole video, let me know in the comments below that I did it and I learned for my child. And if it was helpful to you, do press the like button, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.